Nurture and support. Nurture and support. This is a podcast theme song. And it's really short.
Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Nurture and Support, a recommendation podcast. I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter, and with me, as always, advancing the Amazon Prime Directive and building an army of kittens to advance the Amazon Prime Directive is Mel.
Hey everybody, I'm Mel at Karmic9, and my recommendation this week is going to actually advance the Amazon Prime Directive, so stay tuned.
Shocker. It's like we should rename this Alice Cooper Recommendations and Amazon Prime.
Yeah, maybe somebody would throw some money at us. Sponsors.
Yeah, I gotta think Amazon's doing a little better than Alice, but so I think that's probably where we want to get the sponsorship. So
yeah.
Alrighty, well, I am gonna start things off, and as I often do, we're gonna go to church today. That's what we're going to do. My recommendation deals with church. Actually, it deals with a church, or rather cathedral, and it is a special it's a documentary that is available on Netflix, free. You don't have to be an Amazon Prime member to view this.
You pay for Netflix, though.
Yes, I pay a lot less for Netflix than I would for Amazon Prime.
True.
Although, well, I don't know. Probably if you multiply out the monthly, I bet you I do. Now that you mention it. I bet you
It evens out, or you could be a loser like me and pay for both of them.
Okay, well, there's that. But what I'm going to recommend is it's on Netflix, and it's called Sagrada, The Mystery of Creation. And Sagrada-Familia is actually a cathedral that is under construction in Barcelona, Spain. And it is the work of the architect Gaudi, who... I didn't know a lot about Gaudi initially, beyond when the Olympics were in Barcelona. They do kind of the local color pieces, and that highly in-depth American network television coverage. Look at these weird-ass places here. Look how strange these buildings look. These are all buildings by Gaudi, and he was strange. And so you didn't get a whole lot of depth beyond they're weird. But if you're not familiar with Gaudi's architectural work, he was an architect, but he drew all of his inspiration from nature, and so all the constructs of his architecture are not linear. You hardly ever find any right angles. It's kind of based off of trees and the countryside around him. And so when you actually see some of this in the documentary, they have a lot of rock outcroppings that are somewhat kind of finger or cone shaped, and that's something you see in a lot of Gaudi's work. And I wish I could recall the name of this building, but there is one house. It's a very large house that is basically designed to look like a dragon.
Cool.
And yeah, and it does, and it's really super cool. But we're going to talk about sagrada-familia today. So construction of it began in 1882, and it's targeted for completion in 2026. So
I was going, wait a minute.
It's been kind of a long project he's kind of working on. And there's a bit of controversy with it because it's a church and it's a place of worship, but there is actually a cathedral in Barcelona that some people's noses were out of joint when Gaudi started this, because they're like, hey, we've got a cathedral. What are you doing? But it's an amazing piece of architecture, and it's an amazing story. And what the documentary does is it basically covers, the background, the history, and what's going on today, and how they've started to introduce more modern technologies to advance the building. But it's just a fascinating approach overall. The church itself will have 3 portals. There's a nativity portal on one side, which features a lot of things about the birth of Christ. There's a passion portal opposite, and it faces east, as the sun rises in the east, and so you've got the nativity portal facing east. The passion portal faces west, sun setting, and it features passion of Christ, crucifixion, etc. And then and so they're parallel to each other. And then on one of the other sides, there is the glory portal, which is about redemption and the seven. There's going to be 7 pillars up front. We're going to talk a lot about pillars and towers as I explain this, but this is one place where there are 7 pillars, which start out the 7 deadly sins at the bottom of the pillars, and by the time you get to the top, it comes to the 7 graces. So it's just kind of some pretty clever stuff there. So Gaudi obviously isn't going to be around for the completion. Spoiler.
I was getting ready to say, if he's still alive, then somebody has some splaining to do.
That's right. Well, he made the point saying, the person I'm building this for is in no rush. And so I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But he did oversee the creation of the nativity portal, and it is in the typical Gaudi style. And so there's lots of kind of organic sculptures coming out, and a lot of things painted. That just paints a very interesting picture through sculpture and those things. When it's all designed and done, there will be 12 spires, 4 on each side for the 12 apostles. Inside of those, there are 4 more larger spires, which are for the 4 gospel writers. Then there's a kind of a mini tower for Mary and a larger tower for Christ as well. So it's just, when it's done, they've only built 8 of the towers so far, so they've got a lot more to do, including all of those. What was interesting is they kind of stepped through it, and I really found this to be an incredibly informative show to watch. The one thing I didn't get, and maybe just because it was for Gaudi, and they just figured, well, if we're doing Gaudi, we got to be a little bit different in what we do. There's a, I don't know, 13, 14-year-old boy in all like a gray, almost scrubs, if you will, that as they shoot scenes of the crypt or the sacristy or different things that have been done, he'll be there like leaning against a wall or standing up there. He does nothing to advance the story. He's just there. He changes poses every once in a while, but it's just, I didn't quite get what the point of that was while he was there, but he doesn't really delay the story much. But outside of the guy in scrubs that I never really got the whole deal with, they cover a lot of the history and all the controversies. And so what happened is that Gaudi used to build tons and tons of scale models of the different parts. And this is such a complex building. There's so much going on everywhere that he would build all these different scale models to help articulate the vision, as well as drawings and all those things. During the Spanish Revolution, those were all burned and destroyed. And so they managed over time to kind of get dribs and drabs and bits and pieces. So they have a lot of the plan, but they don't really have all of it, and they don't have it all in detail. And he didn't work a lot in detail anyway, but any of the models and such, they're pretty rare, and they're really excited anytime they do come across some of those. If they get to an old workshop and find some pieces, they get super excited for some of those things as well. So the Passion side, so Gaudi was there. He passed away after the Nativity side was done. In 1976, the Passion side was completed, and it was completed by an abstract artist called Joseph Maria Subriax. And I'm sure I butchered Joseph's last name horribly, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, and he was an abstract artist, and he was Mr. Right Angle. And so on the Passion side, Gaudi's vision was he wanted it to be scary and get people to think, but it reflects the sculptures and the activity on that side. The cross itself, one of the centerpieces obviously is the crucifixion. The cross itself isn't a cross, it's 2 metal beams that, due to the perspective and when you look up, looks like a cross, but they're actually horizontal, not vertical. They're I-beams, and Christ is completely naked, which has caused some people dismay in there. Plus all the right angles. People are really freaked out about, there's like a lot of right angles here. But it's tremendous sculpture. It's beautiful work, but every piece goes through. But when this thing started off, Gaudi did the first part. There was a revolution. He would kind of go door to door as World War I came, and they used to have trouble getting funding. And so he would do everything he could to try and get money, and it kind of paused. And there were a lot of people saying this should remain a ruin. It should never be finished. But they've kind of kept on going and kept on going to do it. And now there are just so many tourists that come through it that they have a good steady income coming from that the funding's no longer an issue. They're going to be able to finish it. They're targeting 2026. They'll get all the portals done. But it's just, I mean, it's just amazing artistry, just in terms of how this guy thought. It's incredibly beautiful. As you might expect in a large church, there's a tremendous amount of stained glass. All the stained glass is done, appears to be being done by abstract color artists. So they still are, they look like a stained glass window, but instead of kind of the scenes you might see or those types of things, it's more kind of expression and color, but just beautiful to look at. So it's an amazing structure to see. It's amazing to see where it's eventually going to get done. And then you start to get, they didn't dwell on it too much, but the reason they kind of feel, if it's 8 towers down and they started in 1892, you kind of go, how are you going to pick up the pace? But those used to all have to be carved by hand. And now in the world of 3D printing and many other things similar to that, they can more quickly actually fabricate pieces of stone off-site per the specification, bring it on site and construct it up and do all those types of things. So
yeah, I looked up a picture. It's beautiful.
it's an amazing looking, very organic. There's just so much going on, and you kind of, as you watch, you go, oh, okay, I've got it. So this is about it. But then there's another layer and another layer, and he talks about the towers and they talk about the different things they're doing.
Yeah,
There's
those
the kind of,
towers are awesome.
yeah. So it's an amazing thing. It was a much better coverage than the sports coverage I got during the Olympics of Gaudi's work. You learn a lot. You learn a lot about kind of the backstory. He actually, I mean, he eventually, this became his only project by the time he was done. This is the only thing he was working on. He was actually living in Sagrada-familia, and he wandered off one morning and got hit by a tram. And everyone assumed this was a beggar that got hit by a tram because he dressed very, he didn't dress with much finery at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it took his assistant, basically about 4 days after they couldn't find him, his assistant, they said, hey, well, there was this beggar. And so he came and said, yeah, that's Gaudi. And so it was an interesting thing there. But his big thing is, this should be finished. I'm completely cool that I'm not the person finishing it. I've painted the picture. The landlord of this building is patient man. He'll wait till you're done. But it's an amazing, just a stunning piece of architecture. Interesting story. Don't get the kid in the gray suit, but outside of that, it's fun. So it's about an hour and a half, but it's very interesting. So I had saw it and I said, I kind of liked it. I'm a big fan of architecture. I didn't really know much about Gaudi, and so I started to watch this, and it was there's just so many different parts of it. So if you get a chance on Netflix when you're not buying stuff on Amazon Prime, go check out Sakura Mystery of Creation.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You obviously remembered a lot more from the Barcelona Olympics than I did. I don't remember any mention of it.
It was, but it was one of those little 5-minute, 10-minute things when they're filling time before, the next discus thing or whatever. Like, oh.
Yeah. I must have missed that one. That's cool. I know absolutely zero about architecture. We'll put a picture of that obviously up on the blog post because that is one cool building. Hey everybody, so before we get started into my recommendation this week, I need to warn you that you're going to hear some screaming little kittens intermittently through the rest of the episode. I tried to take them out as much as I could, but gosh, they're loud little suckers. There's a cute picture on the blog post of them if you're interested in seeing them, but I'm sorry, I didn't realize that they were getting picked up by the mic so incredibly badly. Try to grit your teeth, get through it, because I think you're really going to like this recommendation. So, Amazon Prime.
I'm not familiar, Mel. Could you tell me a little more? What is this Amazon Prime that you speak of?
Oh, the select few of us who incidentally have chosen to pay for this service from Amazon get quite a lot of cool things for being a Prime member. And as we've mentioned already, I'm one of those people who not only has an Amazon Prime membership, but I also have a Netflix membership. And I don't believe that I have ever recommended a movie off of Amazon's instant video service that was free for Prime members. So I'm going to fix that today. This movie is not available on Netflix. So it's only available and it's free for Prime members to watch. Otherwise, you have to rent it. which I think the standard definition rental is $3.99, HD is $4.99. But if you're a Prime member, you can watch it whenever you want to for nothing other than your standard Prime membership.
And they'll have 6-year-old children come in and adjust the volume for you, and fan you during. Yeah.
That's
whatever.
right. Bring you a drink. We've mentioned before how much we like bad science fiction movies, and the Sci-Fi Channel has of late let us down on that regard, to the point where now I don't even check. So honestly, any of you out there, if there's a sci-fi movie coming up on a Saturday, somebody let me know, because I don't even turn it on and check anymore. So I've been missing my bad B movies, and I stumbled across this gem of a movie called Survivor on Amazon Prime's Instant Video. It has Kevin Sorbo in it. It also, the main character is a lady named Danielle. I'm not sure if you say her last name is Chuchran. It's Chuchran. And I'm going to read you the little blurb on the Amazon page. Now, incidentally, there's a lot of things out there called Survivor, so you have some trouble finding this movie. It is, well, if you probably search for Survivor and Kevin Sorbo, it'll probably come up. But on Amazon, it's actually listed as Survivor 2015. On IMDb, incidentally, there are so many Survivors, it's listed as Survivor 2014, because that's when it was actually filmed. But here's the blurb. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. After decades of drifting in space, the last living humans crash land on an alien planet, but when Kate Mitra's crewmates are captured by flesh-eating creatures, she must join forces with the planet's mysterious masked inhabitants before what's left of humanity is destroyed. So, the setup for this movie is, I believe somewhere in there they threw that the Earth fell out of orbit with the sun. And
Let's pay attention. Make sure it doesn't happen for real folks.
Yes.
Stay focused.
And something about it got so hot, all of the water on Earth boiled away, and then that, and only then, is when all of the plants died, and then because all the plants died, all of the animals were dying. And I'm pretty sure the heat would have killed all the animals first, but this is the joy of a bad sci-fi movie, is you like to nitpick at the science. So,
science in quotes.
Yes. So they are on some very kitschy 70s feel CGI'd spaceships. The last of humanity on Earth sent out 7 ships into the void. Actually, I'm sorry, I digress. At some point, they did something to try and fix the orbit, which incidentally caused a bunch of wormholes to open up.
Oops. Hate it when that happens.
So, 7 ships full of the last of humanity take off into the void. So they have been sailing through space for decades. An entire generation of children have been born in space and have grown up to be young people, and Kate would be one of these people. And all she does is train for the day when they will land on a planet and start over. This is what her entire life has been. Incidentally, the movie starts on her 21st birthday. So, they hear a beacon, and they go through a wormhole to get to the beacon.
That's a loud beacon.
It is. But there are asteroids inside the wormhole, and they kind of break their ship apart. And the ship basically cracks in two, like way up high in the atmosphere, and she falls from way up there down to Earth. And like 10 feet from the surface, a parachute deploys, and she falls into the water, and she is okay.
Yeah, if you know how to fall. It's always the key. Maybe that's part of her training. Here's how you fall.
I'm thinking maybe it's her space-age spacesuit she has on. I say all of this, and it's actually, it's a fun movie. I can't tell you how much I actually enjoyed watching this movie. You know, one of those little problems people have in the future of trying to come up with suitably futuristic devices for the inhabitants of the future to carry around. You know, we have the communicator in Star Trek and the tricorder and all of that. Well, they came up with a clever way around all of that. Now, the little device, they just swipe their arm and a little holographic computer screen pops up. And this little, genius little computer tells them everything they need to know. It can even scan them medically and tell them what's broken and what they need and communicate with other survivors and all sorts of things. And there's no actual anything visible on her arm. She just swipes her arm just like you would swipe your iPhone to wake it up.
Okay. Bear with me.
It's awesome.
So
the picture is awesome.
So the future interface, the interface we're heading towards here
yes.
in the future is to recreate a screen which was created to allow you to visualize things.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, and the best part at one point in the movie, you know how you have those little neat flip cases to cover the screen of your phone? Well, her jacket, it has this big Velcroed pocket on the arm that she can just flip open to access her bare arm so she can swipe it. And then when she's done, just a flick of her wrist and the cover flops back over, I guess to protect her interface arm. Anyway. I loved it. I'm sorry. It was funny when I realized what they were doing. But anyway, she crash lands on this planet, happens to survive, uses her little interface to find the rest of her buddies who have just managed to crawl out of the ocean or lake or whatever they have crashed into when they are quickly set upon by the natives. Now, there are two natives on this planet. One is a big old ugly monster who likes to eat people. The others are humanoid looking dudes that are rather, I'm not sure, steampunk is not the correct word. It's a mishmash of steampunk. Their outfits are quite fun. It's a post-apocalyptic steampunk, I suppose one could say. These are the masked inhabitants that we talked about in the blurb. They're dudes with motorcycle helmets on that have been painted with little respirator pieces attached to where their mouth would be and holes drilled in the motorcycle helmets with rope coming out of it like hair to make these like bouncy tentacle like things. And they have as a visor on the motorcycle helmet, they have like big ski masks. Ski goggles. So anyway, I have to totally give them props for effort on the costumes. They actually did not use a whole lot of CGI in this movie, which, obviously the very beginning with the spaceship was, and the arm swiping computer is obviously CGI'd. However, the costumes on all of these masked people, who incidentally are not very friendly, they kind of want to kill any intruders. So they're not real happy with the blonde chick who has fallen to their planet. Their outfits were pretty neat. They don't speak English. You get subtitles when they're talking amongst themselves. And then the real gem is they actually used monster makeup to make the monsters that attack and eat everybody. And it was actually, because of my years of face-off watching, it was pretty good. I was impressed with it. It was actually pretty good. The mask portions of it all the way down to about mid-body, and then obviously it's a guy in a suit, because amazingly these monsters had very human butts and legs, in their outfits. So, but the faces on these masks were actually very good. They were kind of gargoyle-esque. So, this movie was actually filmed in Utah, which we don't hear about a whole lot of our movies being filmed up there. And you can really tell it in the scenery that's going on. Obviously the people that made this movie are big fans of parkour because there's a lot of free running going on in this movie. This girl runs and runs and runs. That's basically what happens in a whole lot of this movie. So the gist of it is she's got to save what's left of her fallen crew and not get eaten in the process and not get killed by the dudes in the motorcycle helmets, because that would keep her from saving Kevin Sorbo, who's her captain and who's incidentally not looking very good in this movie. He looks better in real life than he did in this movie, so that's concerning. But anyway, it was great fun. I like free running. So I liked all of their free running through the desert, bouncing off of the rocks, and the girl finds a horse. So what's better than a post-apocalyptic girl finds horse and immediately jumps on the back of the horse? Like, hey, I know how to ride a horse. She's never ridden a horse. But anyway, so there's a big, question. Will she survive? Will she save her crew? And you have to watch the movie to find out. If you're a Prime member, you can watch it for free. But I have to say, I did enjoy snarking this movie to myself a great deal. I did. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Well, and so so I'm sold on like multiple levels here. But but it does like it'd be an awesome one for all of us to get multiple people to view together. But
Yes.
doesn't sound like that's really, because obviously Amazon Prime wouldn't let me socialize with Prime members in any fashion. But I don't think there is any kind of group viewing option in Prime that I'm aware of.
No.
So.
No, you've got to be a Prime member if you want to join Prime, or I suppose you could rent it and all of us other Prime members could watch it with you.
Yeah, and I guess we could all start. Yeah, I don't know. It does sound awesome. So, I have a statement, a challenge, and a couple questions for you.
Okay.
My statement: interface arm, great band name. So that's there we go. There we go on that. My challenge to you is: you said in your recommendation that they clearly put in a lot of effort, or they did a really good job on the motorcycle helmet guys.
Yes.
But as you described them to me, it sounded like they went to Dick's Sporting Goods, kind of hit every aisle. Okay, ski mask, bike helmet, and those kinds of things. So.
I know, but it worked. I have to say it worked. But it's one of those things where you look at it and you go, "That's a motorcycle helmet." They're not obviously still motorcycle helmets. They have painted them and everything. But somebody went to a lot of effort on that cosplay. They totally did. It was totally blinged up. As much as you could bling up a post-apocalyptic dude in the desert, they did. They did a good job. I enjoyed it.
All right, cool. So my questions were, so I'm gonna guess our heroine's space outfit's not like loose fitting. Is that or?
No, it is rather tight, but I did mean to mention that there are no gratuitous boob shots in particular. No. None of that. And this is, of course, I didn't even see if this was supposed to technically what the rating on this movie was supposed to be, but there is nothing objectionable in it at all. It actually doesn't have a rating. There's nothing objectionable in it. You could have the kids watch this. I was actually a little bit impressed with that, because most of them try to throw something at least in there. Yeah. But her clothes stay on the entire time. She doesn't need to stop and bathe in some creek in the desert.
It sounded. She was hitting water early in the movie. I thought, so then.
Yes.
How these movies usually work out.
Yes. No, they did good in that regard, and in fact, they go so far as to manufacture reasons that she needs to put on some of the post-apocalyptic gear so that she looks cool. So there's a lot of shots in this movie that were clearly designed just to get the image of her silhouetted against the sun on a rock in some stupid pose. It's very clear that was the entire purpose of her running up that rock, because there was no reason she needed to run up that rock. She just ran up that rock so that they could turn the camera around and get a shot of, look at this cool badass chick standing here. I enjoyed it. It was
Very
fun.
cool. Sounds really fun. And it's $1 more than I had to pay for Troll 2. so I'm doing the economics there, and this sounds like infinitely more than $1 better than Troll 2. So I may just have to do that.
I did enjoy it. I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. I went to work the next day and was telling everybody about it, and of course they don't understand my bad movie addiction, and they're just like, "That sounds awful." And I'm like, "But it was awesome, awful."
You don't. Yeah, and it's like entry into the atmosphere. You come in too flat, you bounce off. You come in too steep, you burn up. But when you hit it just right, that kind of awful, it's magic. And this sounds pretty magic.
This was good. This was one of the good ones. So I probably would not. I would not have been convinced to pay money for it, but because it was free, I watched it. And at the end of it, I would have paid $3.99 to watch that. So
I just may have to do that. So again, if I was willing to spend $2.99 to watch Troll 2 twice I spent that. This seems like a no-brainer.
It's much better than Troll 2.
That doesn't take anything. So very cool. All righty. Anything else on that or?
Nope. I'm done. Cool. Survivor. Technically on Amazon listed as 2015, but probably search for Survivor and Kevin Sorbo, and it'll come up easier for you. But I'll put a link on the blog post.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, and my other question was, how does Amazon so I'm assuming that all Amazon Prime web pages are actually in gold leaf, and I was just wondering how they pull that off.
Well, it's kind of like that ARM interface, you know. It's only for those of us who can swipe to see it.
Swipe it. Okay. Of course. Maybe one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hadn't done the Netflix math because now I think about it, I was like, well, I don't know. I have to think about it. You and Mike has been on me too.
Yeah, Prime costs more than it used to. I've been a Prime member for a very long time, and I got grandfathered, and my renewal date came up right as the price changed. So I still got my this year's Prime membership at last year's prices. So we'll see when it's time to renew, because it has gone up. So it does cost more for Prime than it does for Netflix, but you get a lot from Amazon with Prime. So if you order a bunch of stuff from Amazon, you get free 2-day shipping, and they're always adding new stuff for Prime members that's only for Prime members. They're doing a lot of the Prime music too, which I haven't explored as much as I should. So.
Right.
Amazon Prime directive.
As you see, it's not a joke. When I talk about her advancing it, this is what she does. So, excellent, good. Well, social media wise, we're gonna go with I'm just gonna be doing a recommendation this week because Mel's taking the official position. If she's not active, she's not recommending. If she's not active, and she's continuing to avoid the sinkholes and flooding in Texas. So my social media recommendation is Commodore Smart. That is at COMMODORESMART. Commodore Smart. And it is, yes, they're back. Commodore Business Machines is back. It's their official Twitter account, and they're ready to enter the market soon with a new line of smartphones. They're based out of the UK. Because there's like probably 4 or 5 living Commodore Amiga owners out there, and that was my first computer, and I loved my Commodore Amiga so much, and have probably tweeted about it in the past. I got followed by Commodores because I think, like I said, the list is short, so they must go, hey, we need to follow anybody who has showed us any love over the last 10 years, and so I got a follow from them, and so I went through it. So I'm intrigued. I mean, it's been a very interesting trail with the Amiga, which I love that machine. When that started to kind of go south, and eventually a German firm bought it, and they were going to do some stuff, but it sounds like now they're based out of the UK and going to be doing something with smartphones. I don't know if I'm prepared to give up my current Galaxy phone for a Commodore phone yet, but we should keep an eye on it. But you can keep an eye on it by following Commodore Smart. So we'll have that as a link for in the write-up.
Cool.
And with that, I believe we will turn it over to Mel's good friend Matt, who will fill us all in on how you can connect to us. The many different ways: email, Twitter, website, YouTube channel, all those good things. And we look forward to catching everybody again next week. So bye for me.
Bye, everybody.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nertandsupp@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP@gmail.com, or tweet us at nertandsupp on Twitter. You can also catch Nurture and Support on YouTube. Just search Nurture and Support or Kelly Toole.
Nurturing and supporting China.